we are at headquarters of the BBC Television Centre, and we're here to interview Damian Kavanagh, the controller for CBBC. It is great to be here in the colourful CBBC office, Damian.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for your time.
No problem.
Well, you've had a very interesting career. You've worked across a number of different channels in many different roles. How on earth did you start out in this industry, and tell us a bit about your journey so far?
Okay, well, I think fundamentally, I think you've just got to be passionate about it and want to do it. And I have, since I was young, I remember my dad buying a VHS video recorder, and I used to just record TV shows all the time, and then my friends would come around the house just boredom with stuff. Have you seen this? Have you seen that? So always into it. Then I went to university. I studied philosophy and economics in UCD in Ireland. I took a year out from university too, because I was involved a little bit in university, just always had a video camera doing bits and bobs, and I took a year out and did this, it was a higher diploma, I think it was, a one-year course in video production, TV and video production, so I did that. While I did that, I went and I worked in RTE, did an attachment, unpaid attachment in there, so got some experience in sound and stuff like that. Then when I left university, moved to London, and I just knew I wanted to get into the BBC, so I would do any single job. So my first job in the BBC was working in studios as a management assistant, so I was doing stuff like, how resource was allocated, about how much it was used, utilisation reports, all this kind of stuff, so people could work out how to invest. So that was my first job, my first entry job in the BBC. And then shortly after that, there was a traineeship that it doesn't happen anymore now, and it was called a trainee assistant manager on BBC One. So I applied for and got accepted onto that, and I worked on BBC One then for about a couple of years, I think. And that was giving you a thorough grounding in commissioning, scheduling, and finance. So basically the whole channel management thing, how you run channels. I was schedule manager on BBC Choice, then I was head of scheduling for BBC Choice. Then I went back to BBC One as schedule manager. I was on BBC Three as head of planning and scheduling. Then I came to children's in about 2007.
So, I mean, the flexibility in your career, is that quite usual?
It is. I think, I think the BBC is quite a flexible organisation, and I think one of the nice things about the BBC is there's a lot of, we do a lot of different things. It's not, obviously, not just TV, there's, the whole internet side of stuff is massive now, radio. So what I did is I worked, obviously on the bigger channels, and I had experience of how channels run and editorial experience of how shows work and how shows placed in schedules perform. So from that then, somebody in children's wanted me to come here and run the schedule for children's, but then they offered me as well in independent commissioning jobs. So I was dealing with all the indies and commissioning programs from indies, and then exec producing shows that I commissioned from the indies. So I kind of got very much involved in the editorial side of stuff then. And then following that, I went to daytime and worked in daytime and ran the schedules there. I was head of planning and scheduling at daytime, so that was both the schedules, daytime schedules, BBC One and Two, and the early peak schedules as well. And then I also exec produced stuff there, so I did things there like about 102.
Do you feel there's quite a kind of burden on you to commission the right things? Because obviously, you're working on behalf of the nation.
Well, it's not my, I think one of the things is, you've got to be passionate about shows, you've got to know how they work, but one of the things that you've really got to do is to understand your audience and understand what works for the audience. There's no point in me trying to think of, I want to commission shows that I love. Absolutely, it's brilliant if the shows, I want to commission stuff that's of a certain quality, but I'm not an 8-year-old, and so some of the stuff we commission obviously is not what we just know, and we do a lot of work. We've got good research teams here. We do a lot of work and we know exactly what works for that audience.
And as controller of CBBC, what would you say the most enjoyable part of your job is?
Just dealing with creatives, I think, is amazing. It's like I get to sit here. I've got a very busy diary, but I pretty much, from when I come in the morning to when I go home in the evening, I just sit and I talk about program ideas, and people come and they, pitch me stuff, and then I work with the team to try and, take stuff and to, rework it to kind of, make it as strong as possible for the audience, for something that they really enjoy.
Would you say there's any pitfalls though in the industry? We say that stuff which isn't so spoken about, people who are thinking they want a career in this, they should know about.
I think it's a competitive industry, without a doubt. A lot of people want to work in it, but I think it's not an industry I think that you can come into if you just think I want to dabble in it and not work really hard. It is bloody hard work. It's like, as I say, you're in those meetings all day, and then you go home and you discover that you've got another 100 emails that have come in that you have to reply to. So there's a lot of reading stuff. It's you really have to keep on top of everything. And then outside of it, I can't only concentrate on what I want to do on CBBC. I've got to keep my eyes open for, what's happening in the market, what else kids are consuming, what the other channels are doing, what type of things are popular there. So I think, I'd say it's pretty much, I think with some jobs you might be able to turn off at the end of the day. I find I don't really turn off at all. I'm watching stuff. My wife goes to me, there's certain types of shows that she doesn't like on TV. She goes, oh, we don't have to watch this. And I kind of go, well, I just really want to see at least some of it, just to get a sense of what's happening. So I think, even outside of the day job, you're just constantly consuming content to see how stuff is working and where the new trends are going.
I mean, there's a lot of students that write scripts. How do you advise them to go about, getting them on TV? Well,
watch the stuff, I think, that works. Have a very good sense of the things that work. By Broadcast Magazine, they'll have at the back of that every week. It'll tell you the top shows in all different genres. So from different, from the digital channels, main terrestrials, and then the children's channels. So look at what's working. I think, from my experience, the stuff that really works and the shows that work are things that have come from a person's passion. So it's about a show that's editorially driven by something that somebody wants to do. So I always think, when we got from presenters' point of view, people who genuinely care about what they do. We've got Richard Hammond on the channel doing science, Steve Backshall doing natural history. They live and breathe that. Like Richard Hammond is evangelical about it. I think the same with scripts. I think if people, and you can see it, if people write about what they know about, it comes through in the script. And it's about, I've just commissioned Tony Marchant, who did Holding On, and Garrow's Law just recently on BBC One, to do a drama for us called Postcode. It's about kids. It's set in, the different types of people who live within one postcode. It's a passion of his. When he came to talk about it, you just knew. So I think it's just to have a passion for it. I think it's.
And if you were going to hire someone, what qualities would you look for?
I think number one, and fundamentally, is just a passion for and an understanding of television. I think you've got to be resilient. It's like it's not a job. You make a lot of decisions. You don't come into this job to make any friends, I think, because you make a lot of decisions about whether you're going to bring series back, about whether you're going to commission them in the first place. And there's a responsibility about how you deal with people and a duty of care. So you've got to have a pretty thick skin, I think, and just be very, very focused and very determined about what you want to do. And I think one of the things as well is, I think, that you really need is a clarity. I think from producers that I meet is when they get mixed messages or they don't get answers quickly, because an answer, a lot of people are just as happy, but they're not just as happy, they always want a yes. But a no is good if it means they're not wasting time doing stuff. So I think just to be very honest with people, and you've got to be able to, I think, work with and deal with people and get on with people.
Yeah, I mean, for the last week, I've been getting up at 7 to watch the BBC.
Right, good.
And I'm a first student.
Okay.
You may think 7, God, that's easy, I go at 5. That's pretty early for a student.
Okay.
And I have learned a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really educational.
Well, it's educational. I think, I believe in programmes, I believe in content, that I believe that it's got to have content underpinning it. The most successful and most entertaining shows are all like that. I think, on CBBC we're not trying to formally educate the audience at all, but what we're trying to do is have real content and real takeout within those shows that they, that they come away with. So you look at a show like Deadly 60 and kids just... It's amazing.
All about sea lions.
You know all about. I bet you
sea
do.
lions.
I bet you do. But we do a show. I don't know if you've come across Horrible Histories at all.
Yeah.
It's an amazing show, and the team that do that. It's just actually this Friday. It's been nominated as for best sketch show in the Comedy Awards. So it's up against adult comedies. It's like it's a kids show, but it doesn't feel like a kids show. We've just done a version of it actually for BBC One with Stephen Fry replacing the rat in the links. But the fact about that show is it's all true. Everything that happens in that show is true. And we get the feedback we get from kids, and the kind of they tell us about, I've learned all about the Fire of London from that. There's a new sketch that I've just seen that they've just recorded, which is a song they've done, which is all the kings and queens of England in a little rhyming song. The kids will learn and they will know all the kings of England from beginning to end. So I think there is content at the heart of it. Listen, one of the things that I've noticed since I've started doing this job is we get a lot of people that you wouldn't expect coming through this door. A lot of very established TV stars, a lot of comedians wanting to be on shows, and that's happened because number one, they get kids of their own who get to a certain age, and then they start watching the shows with their kids, and they think, I wouldn't mind being in that. But then when they watch the shows, they go, this is actually good quality stuff. Because I think this is the point, and this is one of the things I really want to do. Kids don't only watch kids stuff; they watch peak time shows. So if we start doing stuff that patronises them, speaks to them, speaks down to them, dumb it down in any way, or make it silly, overly silly for them, they're not going to watch it.
No.
They're intelligent, and they want intelligent stuff in front of them.
Completely. And can you tell us, what's your favourite show?
My favourite show of all time.
Well, a CBBC show.
My favourite. Oh God, that's favouritism. A lot for different reasons. I think Horrible Histories is a beautifully crafted, beautifully written, incredibly well performed and directed show. It's you know, as I say, a testimony that it's going to go to peak time BBC One. It's so well made. I think Deadly 60. I think Steve's passion in Deadly 60 and what he brings to it. Kids just love him. We did a live version of it last autumn, went to 10 different cities around the country and did a Deadly Day Out on the Sundays. And we had 17,000 people coming along to those. Just amazing. They just hang on every word he does. But then drama-wise, I think Tracy Beaker Returns, it's just endured. You know, Tracy Beaker Returns deals with, really, it's about a drama about kids set in a care home. It deals with tough subject matter. It deals, in this series, we're dealing with, you know, there's storylines on refugees. There's, you know, there's quite, we don't, you know, duck away from any kind of tough storylines, and kids appreciate that. Sarah Jane, made by the Doctor Who people, amazing series. You know, last 2 series we've actually had the Doctor appearing in full episodes of it. So we had Matt Smith this year and David Tennant in the one before. So you know, I think we do a massive range of stuff. I hate to say what exactly my favourite show is because we do so many different types of things. You know, Blue Peter and Newsround. You know, shows that the audience absolutely love. So, you know, we do a massive range of things. I think one of the things I'm most proud about on CBBC is that unlike other children's channels, we cover every genre. So we do everything from current affairs, you know, to documentary, to comedy, drama. So it's the whole range of stuff.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Damian. Really appreciate it. And hopefully we've all, you've kind of picked up some helpful tips. I have, certainly. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Cheers.
You.
No problem at all.